Inside Winston Cup Racing, next on TNN Sports Sunday. Saturday, live on TNN Motorsports. The Busch Grand Nationals, proving ground for racing's next superstars. And from the short track, Giants Grove. If you're ready for some hot racing, TNN Motorsports can oblige. Live from Richmond, Virginia, the Busch Grand Nationals Hardee's 200. Saturday, 1 p.m. Eastern, live, only on TNN Motorsports.
Good boys play with toy trucks.
Bad boys play with monster trucks.
Good boys play with toy jets.
Bad boys play with real jets.
Now you be a good boy.
And go watch the bad boys run.
It's the U.S. Hot Rod
10th Annual Ford Motor Fest.
8 high-flying
Monster trucks.
supercharged mud racing funny cars.
Plus Robo Wars.
Boreon versus the alien.
The ultimate confrontation, March 6th, 7th, and 8th, Nassau Coliseum.
Come watch the bad boys run.
Hello everyone, welcome to Inside Winston Cup Racing. Today we're in Mooresville, North Carolina at the Nemco Racing Shops. This is where they build and maintain the Texas Pete hot sauces, Lazito drugs, Chevrolets that Joe Nemechek drives in the NASCAR Busch Grand National Series. Now we have a lot for you in this half hour of Inside Winston Cup Racing, and here's what's coming up.
We'll return to Daytona and review the intense inspection process. Getting to the track was one thing, getting on the track was yet another. Gary Nelson clears the air on NASCAR's new no margin for error inspection procedures.
And in our NASCAR Flashback, we'll take you to Rockingham in 1989. The AC Delco 500 saw Rusty Wallace and Dale Earnhardt in a fierce battle for the championship, while Mark Martin drove the Stroh's Light Thunderbird into victory lane for the first time.
With a week off after Daytona, several teams took the time to do a little testing here at the North Carolina Motor Speedway in preparation for the Goodwrench 500. We'll have the story from The Rock coming up.
Inside Winston Cup Racing is brought to you by cold-filtered Miller Genuine Draft and Miller Genuine Draft Light, taking the country by storm. And by Goodyear, maker of the world's most successful tires, the Goodyear Eagles.
You're about to see how Goodyear is changing all-season driving right before your eyes. Introducing AquaTread, only from Goodyear. AquaTread's advanced design channels water out of your way for dependable all-season traction, especially in the rain when you may need it most. AquaTread, the newest reason why we say the best tires in the world have Goodyear written all over them.
Filtered Miller Genuine Draft. For those who've discovered its real draft taste, the world is a very cool place.
Viscosity breakdown can cause engine failure and premature engine wear. A 500-mile race is like putting 150,000 miles on a personal automobile. Pennzoil is the best motor oil that could be used in any engine, be it race car or street car. Pennzoil motor oil gives the most protection against viscosity breakdown of any major motor oil. The last thing you want to worry about is viscosity breakdown. And with Pennzoil, that's a problem that you don't have to worry about. Pennzoil, performance, protection, and quality.
This year, the excitement of your racing afternoon doesn't have to end with a checkered flag. Join host Ned Jarrett following the running of the Goodwrench 500 from Rockingham and call in to speak with NASCAR's greatest stars on Inside Winston Cup Racing, live. Today at 9 p.m. here on TNN.
One of the big stories at Daytona this year in the first race of the 1992 NASCAR Winston Cup season was the inspection procedure. Things are different now. Gary Nelson has come on board as the technical director for NASCAR, and he has changed things around a lot, and it caused a lot of people to do a lot of work on their cars to get through the inspection. Bill Weber takes a look at what goes on now with inspection.
I'm meant for the teams to have an easy time here, and I think now that they understand our tolerances, from here on, it'll get easier and easier. So my optimistic thinking tells me that I think inspections will become easier as we go.
Getting through inspection at Daytona wasn't quite as easy as Gary Nelson had planned, or as easy as Winston Cup crews had hoped. Despite visiting almost all of the teams that finished in the top 30 in the 1991 points race, NASCAR's new airtight templates had crews cutting, sanding, and sawing out of frustration, failure, and fear. The remodeling in the garage area took on the reckless abandon of a high school shop class cramming for the final exam. The first days at Daytona, crews were not concerned with a blistering time on the track. Attention was focused on the slow creep through inspection that tied up teams in a long line of shoppers at a store with no express lane.
When you think about it, what we were doing in the template room last night that took so long, the guys weren't that far out. It was just a little bit here, a little bit here, and they were just learning that we really meant what we said over the winter, that we were cutting the tolerances or cutting the gray area out of the way we look at the cars.
Nelson is now NASCAR's Winston Cup Technical Director. That's his official title. Around the garage area, he was being called a few other names. But this former crew chief turned chief of police doesn't want to crush the creativity of Winston Cup crews.
I don't want to kill their spirit of trying to make their car better. What I want to do is try and set some clear parameters of what they can and can't do. And there's an awful lot of room to work. And if a guy knows that his car is equal to the car next to him or the one across the garage, as far as rules go, then he'll spend his time in those areas that are definitely wide open to work in, and I encourage that.
Well, safety is number one, of course, and then we tighten up to try to get everyone to have the same benefits, where they each know that they've got the same size fuel cell, they know their body configuration is right, and we've succeeded in doing that. And again, I cannot heap enough praise on Gary Nelson for the fine job that he's doing.
NASCAR and Nelson are tightening the critical templates, areas that directly affect performance. The spoiler, the cowl, roof height, and the height of the car must meet zero tolerance specs. And then after each race,
the engines will be taken apart. There's going to be we're going to look a little farther into the engines. In fact, the winner will actually pull his engine out of his car, and we'll be checking a little deeper inside the engine.
Still to be decided is the sensitive cylinder head issue, which has GM teams racing against a July deadline that requires the popular Pontiac heads to be replaced with the new but still somewhat suspect Chevrolet heads.
And there's a set of parameters that all the teams have that's in the rule book that says you cannot alter this, you cannot change your valve angle, you cannot change your port heights, you can't change your port center lines, but there's a lot of room inside the head for them to make improvements if they think they have a reliability problem, or to work with their individual teams can work to get the power. But we have really curtailed the chance that a team will spend a lot of money on cylinder head, because we have corralled a set of parameters for each head, and we do have the baseline head.
Nelson and NASCAR now want race cars to strongly resemble their showroom siblings. But even with the tougher templates and Nelson's knowledge of body molding magic, the closely guarded secrets of building race cars will remain a mystery.
You know, if you just look at the whole race car, we made a new way of checking fuel cells. We made a new way of checking the cowlings. We changed some rules on the air cleaners. There's a lot of minor refinements to try and eliminate some of the gray area, but I feel like it'll never be gone. There's always going to be the teams trying to refine, and and us trying to decide whether that is something that's allowable or not. And you know, every day through the garage I get a lot of questions. Is this okay? Is that okay? And what that's telling me is there's gray area, and I think there always will be.
Even though it caused a lot of people a lot of work, and perhaps some people were a little upset about all the work they had to do, I think to the man, everybody respects Gary Nelson and what he's trying to do in NASCAR Winston Cup racing now, and I think it'll save them money and a lot of time in the future. Well, we need to take a short break. When we come back, we'll have a story on some of the testing that went on at Rockingham before the Goodwrench 500. We'll also have the mailbox. You stay with us.
We're here just basically trying to learn the Ford.
We're down here trying to work our chassis out and keep up the Daytona work, you know.
Things are a little bit different now. Everybody's getting a whole lot closer and it's getting a whole lot tougher. And, you know, we're trying a lot of new stuff here today.
Are you still polishing your car the old-fashioned way? Rubbing, buffing, and waxing, only to highlight all those nasty nicks and scratches? Well, now you can throw them all away. Introducing Color Match, the acrylic sealant that actually matches your car's original color. Now you can use Color Match to cover all those minor nicks and scratches with a protective shine that lasts for 1 full year guaranteed. Watch how it works. First, we'll damage this car's paint. Ouch! That's damage. Now watch as we apply the Color Match system. Look how easily it goes on. Now watch how those nicks and scratches disappear. Now you see them, now you don't. Even dull, faded finishes are brought back to the car's original color with an acrylic finish, the same color as your car's original paint. Color Match restores and protects your car's finish from the damaging rays of the sun and the punishing effects of Mother Nature without leaving those ugly swirl marks.
Color Match really works. And it's so easy to use. Color Match made my nicks and scratches disappear.
With Color Match, you'll have the right color with results that last 1 full year guaranteed. Even after 50 times through the car wash, it won't wash off. And don't worry, Color Match is not a paint. It's a high-tech dye in an acrylic polish blended to match your car's color. Experts agree, Color Match makes everything else obsolete. The Color Match system is yours for only $19.95. And if you order now, you'll receive a second bottle in the color of your choice absolutely free. But wait, that's not all. We'll also throw in Glass Shield Window Protectant, our amazing Duragloss Vinyl Leather and Tire Restorer, and Fog Shield, the Fog Eliminator. An extra bonus value of over $20, yours free when you order the complete Color Match Car Care System for only $19.95. Here's how to order. Call 1-800-647-9100 or send check or money order for $19.95 plus $4.95 shipping and handling to Color Match, 300 McCann Street, Nashville, Tennessee, 37210.
Catch 90 minutes of racing excitement from start to finish on the American Sports Cavalcade. The American Sports Cavalcade. 7 Eastern Sports Sundays on TNN.
Joe Nemechek has one of the better Busch Grand National facilities that we have been in, so we've moved our position so you'll get a chance to see a little bit more of it. The NASCAR Winston Cup teams didn't spend much time at home after the Daytona 500. They were on the road testing at the North Carolina Motor Speedway at Rockingham, where they're running the Goodwrench 500 today, and Randy Pemberton was there.
Only 4 days after the Daytona 500 was run, over 20 teams showed up at the North Carolina Motor Speedway for testing. You might ask the question, why? Why do these teams need to test when they practice both Friday and Saturday prior to the Goodwrench 500? Well, each team has their specific reasons. But the main reason is each Winston Cup event scores the same amount of points, and as of right now, every team is still in the chase for the $1 million Winston Cup championship. As of 9 o'clock, several hundred fans huddled in the grandstands when the cars first rolled onto the racetrack, each hoping to get a glimpse of his or her hero. One driver who hadn't planned on doing anything after Daytona was Dick Trickle. But with the release of Rick Wilson from the Stavola Brothers Ford a few days earlier, Dick suddenly found himself in the driver's seat of the cars that helped him capture Rookie of the Year honors just a few seasons ago.
Now, this is kind of like out of the blue, you might say, lightning. And all of a sudden, I got a call from Stabola's Tuesday evening and said, come on down, I'd like to talk to you. I was working with the Raymock team, who I got a lot of respect for, and but we couldn't come up with a sponsor, so it looked like I might be sitting on the fence watching, and this opportunity came along, and, you know, I've had a good relationship with the Stabola brothers before, and Ken Wilson is a super good guy, and he's got a lot of experience in racing. You know, got a good group of guys together, and if we can work together, we'll go places.
All morning long, the garage area was filled with constant chatter about springs, shocks, tires, and tons of technical jargon. And for some, they even did a little reminiscing about what could have been at Daytona.
15 laps to go, and I'm running, and I'm thought to myself, man, this is pretty cool. I'm sitting here trying to figure out how to win the Daytona 500. I like this.
Yeah. And I was trying to figure out how not to lose it.
I kept on letting off a little bit, you know, and then run hard to see how good I could suck up on you and doing that kind of stuff. But kind of
been interesting.
Yeah, it would have been. I wish I could have tried.
But with the Goodwrench 500 still 10 days away, Michael and several others were hoping their first checkered flag of 1992 was just around the corner. And for one man, it was more than just searching for the right setup, as he was the reason the fans were in the stands. By noon, the fans that filed in formed a line along the front stretch fence, hoping for possibly just a picture or maybe even their first autograph from the king himself.
Hey, buddy. That's Richard Petty. This is Matthew. Give me 5. All right.
While the king signed autographs during lunch, others were deep in thought.
So during testing, there's a lot of things these crew chiefs do. Of course, they actually get a little bit of sleep if they can.
Gary, what are you working on over here? I know you're thinking.
Shock absorbers.
That's right.
That's right.
You figure anything out?
Yeah, we got it.
Okay.
We're running pretty good.
Okay. After lunch, they were back at it, like Brett Bodine looking to rebound from a dismal Daytona debut.
Basically, in our situation, we're a little different than some other teams trying to learn the Ford, what it wants here with combinations, what the motor's going to run like, you know, things, educating the driver, a lot of areas like that. Plus, then we just make changes. Even though we might have a good car here testing, instead of loading up going home, we might make some changes to try to change the characteristics of that race car so that when we come back, if the conditions happen to change, we're a little bit more educated, more in tune to what the car is going to do under certain circumstances.
With a second-place finish at the Big D, Morgan Shepherd was hoping just to keep the momentum going.
Well, Rockingham has been one of my weak points. I've ran good here in the past, but the last few years we've gotten off, and you know, like Kyle Petty has dominated, and then Harry won here. Those guys have pretty much got it together, but we're down here trying to work our chassis out and make the gains that we need to be competitive, so we can be consistent all year and keep up the Daytona work, you know.
Kyle Petty has been the person to beat lately at the Rock, but that was then, and this is now.
No, we're trying a bunch of stuff today that we haven't done. We really hadn't tested here over the last couple years. We came a couple times and just ran fast right out of the truck and loaded it up and went home. But things are a little bit different now. Everybody's getting a whole lot closer and it's getting a whole lot tougher. And, you know, we're trying a lot of new stuff here today.
Most teams were just trying to get their cars in the ballpark. And by the time the day was over, it was Bill Elliott that was in center field with the quickest lap of the afternoon.
Well, Bill was really pleased with the car. We brought 2 cars down here and pretty much just sorted both the cars out best part of the morning, and then right around noon put a set of tires on and went out and ran a relatively good lap and backed it up in practice with some pretty long runs and ran real consistent. So Bill's pretty pleased with the things, and he's got a few things he needs to do, and so do I. So we're just going to kind of get out of here, get back to the shop, and get back to work.
I tell you, it's important for everyone to get off to as good a start as they possibly can, and testing helps them to do that. Another thing is they want to get in as much testing as they can before the Atlanta race, because after that, NASCAR limits them to 7 test dates for the rest of the year. Now, we need to take a short break. When we come back, we'll have the NASCAR Flashback and also the mailbox, and as we leave you for this break, here's the NASCAR Busch Grand National schedule.
Championship-winning drivers have one thing in common: Goodyear Racing Eagles. The race-winning technology that's found in the Goodyear Racing Eagles can also be found in the world's best-selling line of high-performance street tires, Goodyear Eagle Street Radials. The champions know, and it's why we say the best tires in the world have Goodyear written all over them.
Genuine draft. For those who've discovered its real draft taste, the world is a very cool place.
This is America. A grand land of wonderful places. And some wonderful folks. It's freedom to grow and to visit anywhere we wish, from the heartland to the great shores. And all this year, TNN, the Nashville network, will explore America. Its cities, its neighborhoods, its parks, and its people. It's a memorable journey. All this year, when TNN explores America.
Hello, I'm Lori Ann Crook.
I'm Charlie Chase. This week on Crook and Chase, a look at Reba McEntire in concert.
A talk with superface Garth Brooks and superstar Kenny Rogers.
Crook and Chase, weeknights on TNN.
Kyle Petty is looking for a record 3rd consecutive victory at the Rock. We'll see how he and the other competitors fared in the Goodwrench 500.
After being rained out at Hickory, the Busch Grand National Series rolled into Rockingham for the second event of the new season. We'll have all the action from the Goodwrench 200.
We'll also introduce you to Busch Grand National driver Joe Nemechek. Year 1 saw Rookie of the Year honors. Year 2, he was 6th in the points. Year 3 just got started, and with a new sponsor, things look good.
We were scheduled to bring you highlights of the Mountain Dew 500 NASCAR Busch Grand National race from the Hickory Motor Speedway, but it was rained out last weekend. It has been reset for Saturday, April the 18th, and the qualifying lineup that they had at that time will be intact for April 18th. Well, we know how you love racing, and so we put in our NASCAR Flashback this week, which deals with the AC Delco 500 from Rockingham of 1989.
There were 2 important issues heading into the AC Delco 500 at Rockingham. Rusty Wallace was leading the championship race, but started this race 21st. Could he make it through the field safely and keep his point lead? Dale Earnhardt was 37 points behind Rusty. Could he gain any ground from his 5th starting spot? Rusty's car seemed to be working well. He moved his Kodiak Pontiac through the field quickly. He emerged in the top 5 by lap 80. Rusty needed a yellow to catch up to the leaders. Jimmy Spencer lost it in turn 4, but no yellow was displayed. The early racing excitement went on between Earnhardt, Harry Gant, Mark Martin in the Stroh's Light car, and Ricky Rudd, then wearing Quaker State colors. The third of 14 cautions was thrown as Jerry O'Neill and Ken Schrader in the Folgers car came together. Rusty Wallace and Dale Earnhardt would then put on a racing display. Rusty eventually took the lead, but Ricky Rudd took the lead from Rusty and stayed there until Jim Sauter crashed in turn 2. Rudd had to go to pit road with a rubbing fender. Next was the biggest wreck of the afternoon, involving Alan Kowicki, Davey Allison, Darrell Waltrip, and Jimmy Spencer. Rudd was rear-ended by Spencer, and this finished his afternoon. Things got interesting when Rusty and Dale pitted under the green flag. At the same time, Harry Gant crashed, bringing out a caution. Wallace ended up on the tail end of the lead lap. Dale was 1 lap down. Mark Martin was leading, and Rusty and Dale had to make up some lost ground. They went door to door for several laps. It finally came to a halt as the cars bumped in turn 3. Earnhardt went for a ride. Rusty got by. Then Sterling Marlin put the knockout punch on Dale. Mark got by the crash, putting Wallace a lap down. Rusty regained his lap, caught a caution, and was still in contention with 20 laps to go. Martin led the restart, and Wallace got around DW for second. Rusty tried to catch Martin, but the Stroh's Light Thunderbird was too strong. Mark Martin finally got a checkered flag after 112 starts. Team stood on pit road congratulating Martin. For Mark, the victory was sweet, and he knew that the last 20 laps would be an all-or-nothing affair.
Well, I really couldn't believe I was pulling away, but man, I knew that one of two things, I was either going to have to run my guts out or lose. And I really, really didn't want to lose the race. Losing the race to me is having it won and then it going away, having it look like you're going to win. And it looked good for us, and I didn't want that to change. As we pulled away, I got real comfortable there, 15 to go or so, and I figured that I would do something real stupid and hit knock the wall down and lose, and it'd be all my fault. I figured if the worst thing in the world that could happen is probably going to happen to me.
Today's mailbox is brought to you by Miller Genuine Draft.
Our question today is from William Jackson of Utica, Kentucky, who writes, on a number of occasions I've heard a pit crew member say we broke a ratchet in the rear end. What is a ratchet? How does it work? And how does it affect the handling of a race car? Well, William, for that answer, we'll go to Dan Elliott, who is a gear specialist on the car number 26 that Brett Bodine drives and the car number 9 that Phil Parsons drives.
William, the ratchet is the Detroit locker in the rear end, and what it does, it locks up the rear end. Both wheels pull under acceleration and deceleration, then through mid-throttle, through the middle of the corner, the car will free up and roll through the corner. But if you break a ratchet, only one wheel will pull and the car will not accelerate.
If you have any race questions, you can write to us at Inside Winston Cup Racing, Box 240-417, Charlotte, North Carolina 28224. Or you can now call us at 1-900-73-RACES. Charge is $1 per minute, average call 2 minutes. Fans 18 and under get your parents' permission before calling. If we use your question on the air, you'll receive this embroidered Miller Genuine Draft jacket free. Fans 21 and under receive an IWCR cap and t-shirt.
Our time's up for today. Hope you enjoyed the show, and our thanks to Joe Nemechek and all of his crew for allowing us to come inside their shops today. And I want to remind you tonight, live at 9 o'clock, another edition of Inside Winston Cup Racing. Join us.
Inside Winston Cup Racing has been brought to you by coal-filtered Miller Genuine Draft and Miller Genuine Draft Light, taking the country by storm. Transportation for Inside Winston Cup Racing crew provided by Fleetwood Enterprises, makers of a full line of excellent recreational vehicles.
The winners next on TNN Sports Sunday. This is TNN, the Nashville Network, the #1 source for country music, entertainment, and information.